There's nobody on, there's probably nobody on, so. All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you for joining us for the South Range Board of Education meeting for July. Just a reminder, this is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business. It is not considered a public community meeting. There's time for public participation in the agenda as indicated. So, Mr. Nero, if you can call the roll for us, please.
Tyler Bates.
Here.
Jack Dawson.
Here.
Terry Lau.
Here.
Brian Bagwell.
Here. First, we're going to observe a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you stand for the pledge, please? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 4 would be the agenda approval.
I'll move.
No changes. We have Terry with the motion. Tyler seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Item number 5, public participation for agenda items. Anybody like to speak about any agenda items? Seeing as there's none, we'll move on to number 6, communications.
Yeah, first I'd like to welcome and congratulate Gabriella Tessima. I know her and her husband are here in the audience. She is becoming a Raider from East Palestine. She will be teaching 8th grade math and very excited. She met everybody. Terry, you walked in right when we were going to start. So Gabriella, this is our Vice President, Terry Lau.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
So super
Thank you,
excited. And again, welcome and thank you guys for joining us here.
Thank you.
Special thank you to the staff and the building principals who had a very busy hiring season from June. We hired some fabulous individuals who will work to build relationships with students, staff, and the community while upholding our values. So we had a very good hiring season, and we're just excited about our new staff members. With the master facilities plan update, I'd like Mr. Pagnotta to share a little bit of information on the geothermal.
Oh, thank you. I do have some pictures. I can pass those around.
Thank you.
The project is like 99% complete. We did the poly valves, and that was the goal of taking out the corrosion in the vault. Okay, so that's 36 valves, 18 return, 18 supply. It was difficult. It was a difficult project. They were able to successfully complete the project. Everything's sealed. They pressure tested at 100 psi, no leaks. The building has returned to normal. Now, right now, the air's turned off in here, but we were able to bleed the lines and bleed out the air. We are going to have to put in a rec for some glycol to replace, but we didn't lose barely any, really, considering that there's like 30,000 gallons of glycol in the loop. All in all, it was a good job. It just went off a little off schedule, a little longer than anticipated. I think a little more difficult conditions than they even anticipated. But we stayed on it. They have to come back and repair this. They're putting in a stainless steel stand so that it will support the weight. And stainless steel hardware because they just didn't have enough when they were on site. So that's the update. Thank you.
You want Dean, can I
Yeah.
probably budget-wise, everything goes as per plan?
I emailed, and Jared could attest to this. I said, hey, we need to come in on time and on budget. Well, the on time thing didn't happen, but the on budget thing, they did not reach out yet. They didn't tell us. I mean, we're going to fight for that to stay on budget because the delays that they had were on them, not on us. And I think it's important that we know that we have everything documented. So I don't think it's going to be an issue. Just
And you'll be able to purchase the glycol and have them added to the system.
that's us. That's on us. We
Okay.
could do that. That's not
Okay.
a problem. We know how to do it. We have a feeder tank in the back. We deal with Viking Water Technology. He's local. Matt Brooks, local here in the community, and we'll take care of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, just as you can see, Dean's been on. It's one of those one of those projects where you sign up, people come in, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna check out. Not that they're the project manager, but you become the project manager. And shout out to Dean, long hours, 9 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night, he's over here in the pit, in the vault, giving them tools that they didn't even come prepared. So Dean, seriously, shout out to you and your team, John and Kai and you guys. You just did a lot for this district that people will never know. And I just, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all that you did. Additionally, pertaining to the newspaper that we talked about, I have some information to report to the board. So Company A was going to charge us $7,669 for one newspaper, taking our main newsletter and making it an edition for 4,000 residents. Company B, it's $2,600. So we are researching one last company to see if we can get under that 2,000 mark. So in the meantime, this August, we are not going to mail out a newspaper. Instead, we're going to contact Company B and see if we can do a hard copy and pick up 100 copies, and we're just going to drop them off. We're going to drop them off at the church at C's Waffle so that the constituents can see that some of the work going on. Moving forward next year, we're getting that quote with the plan of, hey, in June, we want to put out that newsletter that we just did. We didn't anticipate the nuances in communication simply because we do not have communication specialists on staff, and from researching the quality of paper, I know more about paper than I ever want to anticipate, to the size of the font needed to be on the paper, to the newspaper, and shout out to Carrie and Paula for all their hard work in researching in that. So with that being said, this year, this August, hard copies, we're going to drive around, drop off. Next year, we'll have way in advance communication of, hey, the expectation is an actual newspaper, and working with a company here pretty locally that I think can get us at that cheaper rate. So with that being said, a lot of communication for fiscal year 26. And with that being said, from social media to crisis management to newspapers to press releases to our news staff, I am in August going to recommend to the board that we hire K Squared Marketing Consulting. They're here a local company and they provide communication for 8 other local districts. And any more other school districts with a multi-million-dollar budget like us, they have a curriculum specialist on staff. Well, we're not going to do that. In working with this firm, we will have significant savings as compared to hiring a full-time purchase. So a flat rate, which is very competitive to like Poland, who have their own specialists, and Boardman have their own specialists, we will be much more efficient and time management for deliverables and various communications. So we talk about with this company, social media marketing, public relations, internal messaging, and especially crisis management. 4 a.m., what message, what all call, and so forth. And these are the experts in that two-way communication. Specifically, I also asked this company to really take over the newspaper, the newsletter, video series with staff, featuring our CTE pathways that we're going to create and having stories where we're interviewing kids throughout the year, as well as anything that the board with board policy. So for example, open enrollment. Do we have a meeting in the fall where I go over the guidelines and we have a communication expert that can really curtail and align that message to what we, our board policy is. And they do all of that. So I wanted to share now out, in a public setting that in August, I'm going to put that on the board. I want you guys to consider for the August Board of Education meeting, us working with this company. And in the drive, I put the contract and what the cost is and so forth and everything that they can do. So I wanted to update that. And I have 2 more updates, if I may, related to grants and funding. So in June, Mario, myself, and Mr. Hassey applied for 2 safety grants. We're gonna wait to hear more about those safety grants. And in funding news, last week, the Ohio government let us know that the federal government froze numerous funds. We received thousands of dollars in all of these different funds. Title I was not froze. So we do receive Title I money. We have a lot of money for Title I, K-8. So tomorrow I'm going to post tutor jobs, and we will rest assured our plan, which we created last year anyways, we're going to implement that now with title funding. Some of the other aspects, we're waiting to see what the federal government does with these other grants. And we found that out today about Title I. So very excited to share that. And those are my updates, if there's any questions.
Any questions? That will take us to item number 7, the consent agenda between treasurer and superintendent. So the first item for consideration is the board meeting minutes. We had a special meeting on June 18th, a special meeting on June 30th, and a special meeting on July 3rd. Hiring season and fiscal year end season, so got a bunch knocked out there. And then B, we have the financial reports for the June. You want to go over anything from that, or you want to save that for your?
Well, before you do, let me go back. Thank you guys for meeting multiple times. Many boards do that, but by us meeting, we were able to give East Palestine and some of these other schools an opportunity to hire people before. There's a date in Ohio law that basically says if you hire people after this date, the school district could not let this person out of their contract. So you guys met early enough to give the other school district time. And when I called the East Palestine superintendent, I said, our board, he was like, thank you so much. I don't know what we're going to do to find a teacher and so forth. So before we move on, I just want to thank you guys for doing that. I know it's a lot to organize that many meetings, but us being in that situation before, it's the right thing to do. So thank you guys.
Yeah, we've been there where the schools haven't had that meeting, and then we're stuck waiting, and I think it's just super disrespectful from one board to another not to do it, so definitely the right thing to do.
On the financial side, yeah, so we, June financial reports closed out. We had a smooth closing process. Thanks for carrying Amy for helping through that process for budgetary and payroll. Started with fiscal year 26, the orders are getting placed or have been placed, purchase orders, everything, we're just starting that process, going through that process. Just wanted to highlight some things. On June 17th, we received our catastrophic/threshold costs. So these are real high need students. You can submit to the state for additional funding. Now, what we get reimbursed is all dependent on what everybody else in the state submits. Also, a part of the state budget, what they do is they withhold, I think it's roughly 1% of your funding as a set aside. So we had roughly $35,000 withheld from our state funding. So if we didn't submit it, we would have lost $35,000 right off the bat. So we did get reimbursed $60,000. So the net impact was roughly $25,000 increase. So it is worth, going through the process and especially now that they set aside a certain percentage of your funding. The state budget was passed June 30th. The governor did veto a lot of different line items, but the Ohio House is meeting on July 21st to override at least 3 of the veto items to vote on it. I don't know if they want them doing it. 3 of the items is they vetoed the Budget Commission's authority, so it gave them the authority to reduce any entity's property tax or tax levies, or tax rates, if they feel like they don't need the money. So it gave them the authority to really do whatever they wanted to do that. So something to keep an eye on. Another one was the 2004 calculation. So in the budget, they added emergencies levies, which is a fixed sum dollar amount. So you don't get growth on property valuation or if a new construction, it's a fixed dollar amount. They included those in the 2004 calculation. So that was another veto line to remove that in that calculation. So something to keep an eye on. And then there's also they restricted certain types of levies you can go out for depending on what other levies you have already voted. So they're looking to override that as well to limit what levies the school district can go for. So those are 3 items to keep an eye on. I know Dr. Spolnick reached out to our state rep and state senator to not override those vetoes for the flexibility. So I'll keep you guys posted as those go. One of them, he did veto, which I don't think it's on this vote, was that cash balance. So the part of this final version before the governor signed it was a 40% cash balance limit. The governor vetoed that. So just for reference for us, we ended fiscal year 25, our cash reserve was roughly 33%. So just something to keep in mind, that's roughly a third of your year's expenses in reserve, which is 4 months. So we're not holding a lot of cash compared to our yearly expenses. With that in mind, I know, I think it's going to be a topic going forward. I don't think it's going to go away. I think future bills and stuff will probably try to limit that cash reserve. So one thing I know Dr. Sapoli and I are gonna look into is developing a maintenance plan for our school buses. We met with Brenda Hammond today, and just age of our fleet. So we have to look into either figure out how to get our buses ready for inspection of the years to come, or look to buy new and all that. So we're gonna develop a plan, and then next meeting, I'll probably recommend to set up a, capital projects funds like we did for the roof and paving, to start planning for that as well. So it will also help our cash reserve as well, because it's actually earmarked for something. So, I mean, if you guys have any questions about that or reservations, let me know about that. And then the last item was the forecast. It's now a 4-year forecast. You have your current year and 3 future years. But they moved up the timelines. Now they used to be November and May. It's now August and February. And so it really has us forecasting with less data to forecast on, because they're so early in the year. I know the treasurer legislate organizations asking the state to reconsider that, because it just gives more time to prepare. But at least for the first year, it's due like October 15th, but then future years, it's August and February, like the deadline. So they'll be moving those deadlines up, so just change when we approve that stuff.
So will they move, because I think the county treasurers provide you information, sometimes correct and sometimes not, so you can make your budget assumptions. Do they move that all up too?
No, so like those, not that I'm aware of, so like those, so one thing by moving it up is we're even getting our tax advances, yes, like our fall settlement.
Yeah, so you
By
have no
November,
idea.
we had, so we're trying to figure out on the rate resolutions, which they miscalculated for this calendar year, so you're relying on information where you don't, so yeah, so the forecast should just be a lot more variables in it, because you're relying on data you don't have. Until, that's why a lot of us like those later dates, because you at least have more data available to make hopefully more closer, accurate assumptions, so.
I had a question regarding the 07 account you're looking to possibly do. Would that fall under the facilities maintenance plan we currently have? Or would that be a separate, because it's a capital improvements, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a capital improvements fund. Do buses and maintenance and fall under capital improvements since they're not?
It can, it just depends, like when we originally did the other one, we didn't factor it in, so we'll probably just make it separate. I mean, it's all encompassing, but we'll probably get, for your guys' approval, kind of put a plan together and see what you guys think.
So we would
Go from
have
there.
3 then, we'd have the parking lot, we'd have the roof, and then buses. And then that could help earmark those dollars to keep up with, our fleet's like 18 years old,
So-
average.
Yeah, I know the rotation. I just didn't know. I just want to make sure,
Could we do that?
Mm-hmm. That's buses are kind of a separate. This is property. I know that's property, but it's like a.
Yeah, I did check with our attorney that helped with the, and he did say that is part of it.
Okay.
There's language that
But it
allows for that.
It would be like a subsection of the maintenance plan we have going on now. Then.
It'd be separate, we do a whole separate plan.
Okay, so there'd be, because the roof and the is under the
The other one, the
Okay.
facilities one, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, other schools I'm sure they did
So
all.
we saw the success of the plan we created,
Mhm.
and then we were talking, well, let's just, that worked, so let's create a whole plan, so we have a structured thing to follow, especially with the 5-year forecast going to really 3 years with limited data. And with the tariffs and steel, we don't know what this is gonna do for the price of buses. So yeah, I think it's a really good idea to have that plan, and then you could adjust the
No,
plan.
I mean, obviously, buses are critical.
Mhm.
That's a major part of what we do here, but I wanted to make sure that I was on the same page, so
Mhm.
I guess, no,
Yeah, I think other schools include it all under one plan, we just at that time didn't.
and especially if we're looking at maybe future constraints to how much carryover you're gonna be allowed to carry. I mean,
Mhm.
we have the justification, I've seen the buses, I know what Brenda goes through, we have multiple.
So in the forecast now, I factor in a replacement bus once a year.
Yeah.
But because of the turnaround, when you go out for a brand, like for specific specs, it's like an 18-month turnaround. I know we met Brenda today, she's looking at more stock buses, which is, they're already built, they're on the lot. So there's like different bidding rules that we have to look into, but essentially there's not that So if there's one that she likes, and we can go and do the bid process, we can get it right away. Well, that changes the timing. That's what I always tell Jared. The forecast is a lot of his timing of invoices. You're planning for this, but I'm showing the expense in this year because of the
Yeah.
turnaround we're not gonna pay for today. So it's all about, so the
Gotcha.
anticipations are get one once every year is what was built in forecast, but that doesn't mean. So yeah, so we've already been planning for it. It's just more, especially with the cash reserve, have those funds and set aside again, that just help with what the state wants to see school districts do, is have earmarked
No,
those
I
cash
think
reserves for
that's,
certain things.
especially for, I mean, obviously those, we've talked about it before, those buses are like $125,000. I mean, that's a major expense, so
Yeah.
we need to,
We can start planning.
yeah, it's not petty cash, it's significant, so I think you're on the right track.
I like that, because other than the roof in the parking lot, that's like the next thing we have to explain, well, we have this money in the account, but we have to buy a bus, so if we just separate that, it makes it that much more visual for people to see, like,
Yeah.
it's not just, we're not hoarding money, we're trying to plan and, put it where it needs to go. Any other-
That's all I had. If you have any other questions.
If there's none, we'll just move to C, the then and now purchase order for the Mahoning Valley COG.
Yeah, we carried over the amount, it was anticipations just more than enough that I could approve without board authority, the dollar amount.
Item D, personnel. Dr. Polito, he's for a lot of years volunteered to be the team doctor. We just have to board approve him, so he's allowed to be down there on the field with the kids.
Yep.
And as always, that's greatly appreciated. He's volunteering his time and his expertise. Item E, the resignations and retirements. We have the two listed there, Elizabeth Roshak and Jack Nemmergut retirements. Item F, personnel, the supplemental contracts listed. These are just picking up where the football team was trying to divide stuff up and figure out how they were gonna split the supplemental. Item G, supplemental contracts, for the assistant boys soccer.
So Joe originally had a percent, and then they were able to get a different coach, so they took that percent and they divided it so that they can get another coach. So that's why that revision occurred. He was originally approved for 8%, but they're bringing in Caden Sheehan. So Caden's gonna get 6%, Joe's gonna get 2% to make up the 8%. So that's all that revision is, because he was previously approved in June.
Item H, the list of event workers for the 25-26 school year. The duties rate is $30 per hour, or I'm sorry, $30 per event. We have that list provided there. Item I, motion to approve the following classified personnel for the 25-26 school year. Anything you want to touch on that list?
No, they're working, currently, they're going through getting ready for inspection. They're working hard over there and touching base. Shout out to those, Danielle's over there, Brenda's over there. They're just getting after it. Eric, I've seen a lot of Eric, and this is just to continue that maintenance effort. Instead of having that position that we had, everyone's kind of dividing up and using their specialty, and that's really worked out this year. So excited to continue that moving forward.
Item J, the following personnel for their hourly rates, just substitutes as needed. And then that takes us to K, the complimentary passes. Every year we, in the past, have approved this for senior citizens in district to enter the athletic and academic events free of charge. And that is the end of the consent agenda. Are there any questions on any of that stuff?
Move.
Jack moves.
I'll second.
Okay.
Terry seconds. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. Item number 8, for the treasurer, proper public purpose for South Range local schools. Anything you want to go over this with us?
It's just, the motion for meetings held throughout the year and purchase food. It's just allowing to designate a proper public purpose for those meetings. So there's like a list of meetings that he would look to get under section 3.
I'll move.
Jack moves.
Second.
Oops. Tyler seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item B, inventory removal, removing some obsolete cafeteria items listed below.
I'll move.
Tyler moves,
Second.
Jack seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item C, generous donations. First one to the athletics, second one United Way, covering the cafeteria delinquent balances. As always, greatly appreciated.
I'll move.
Tyler moves,
I'll second.
Terry seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries?
Thank you for those.
Yeah. Item 9, I'll say, I know, like, we've seen it a few times over the year. There's a lot of different community groups that are very generous trying to take care of delinquent balances.
Yeah.
I know there's a couple churches that did that last time. Item 9, there is a student out-of-state trip planned for the marching band. They're going to Disney in Florida, so this is just a motion to approve that so they can start planning money towards student fundraising.
I'll move.
I'll
Terry
second.
moves. Tyler seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The board policy consideration for 2025, do you want to,
Yeah, so this is policy 4120 with classified aids, instructional and/or classified aids. So we had to revise it for a couple different reasons. The first, on the first policy, we had it as instructional. Well, we do have some aids that are in the cafeteria still. They haven't fully gone over to the nutrition group yet. So that was the one change that we had to make in the policy. And the second one was they are part-time employees, and all full-time employees have 4 personal days. So with this revised policy, in giving you a history lesson, the first time we gave them a raise, and then we increased longevity pay at certain times of the years with successful evaluation. This third one then gives them personal days. So it's everything that we talked about a few years ago, or when we started that process. So this one would be the 4120 individuals of age would get 2 personal days. So if they want to visit, they want to see their kindergarten, they have plays during the day and the kindergarten performance, they can take a part of the personal day instead of a sick day because they're not sick, to go attend that event. So this by first getting the read, it's in the drive, so we read it now and then you have a month to look it over for August for then board approval, and then that would kick off next year. So all these aides would then get 2 personal days for next year, for this current coming up school year.
25, 26?
25-26 school year.
I'll move.
Tyler moves.
I'll second.
Jack seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Item 10, public participation for non-agenda items. Again, if there's nothing, we'll go to item 11. I think the only thing on there is the next board meeting scheduled for August 20th, 6 p.m. Does that date look okay for everybody? So far, so good. We'll keep it there. With that, I just need a motion for adjournment, unless anybody had anything else.
I'll move.
Second.
Terry moves, Jack seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries, and we'll punch out at 6:30.